University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTEC, says it will not hesitate to resume its suspended strike if government fails to fulfill its part of the bargain during negotiations. UTEC President Dr. Solomon Nunu made this known at a media briefing in Accra.
UTEC, the suspension of the 6 weeks industrial action over poor conditions of service follows appeals from student groups, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education and eminent leaders. UTEC President Dr. Solomon Nunu noted the suspension of the strike is dependent on government fulfilling its end of the bargain.
Cautiously optimistic because to go with what government has said alone wouldn't have been enough for us. But you'll notice that we also considered the statements, or should I say the requests that came in from the eminent persons, the Parliamentary Select Committee. We also considered our students who also made the appeals and the rest. So these are the things that we used as our considerations. But to say that there's something on the table at this point, as we've said, there's nothing. We are just being cautiously optimistic. But we all know that government oftentimes don't heed to its cries. So if they don't to get things done, then I wouldn't be surprised that we may have to come back and then go over this circle again.
The disruption of the academic calendar, he said management of the various universities will have to deal with it.
Now that NEC has taken a decision, it's easier for us to now see to the various managements. Once the individual branches write to them, then they will have to set a date for students, for lectures to begin, because students are on campus, and then we'll continue with lectures. I'm not management. I'm not the vice chancellor of any university. The management will take that decision. And even the vice chancellor can't take that decision. It will take an academic board. And where necessary, they will have to go to council. There are processes.
UTEC urged government to take advantage of the window provided and improve the conditions of service of members.
Meanwhile, Vice President of the University of Education Winneba chapter of UTEC, Dr. Pascal Podu, says members of the chapter voted to reject the suspension of the strike due to lack of trust and being skeptical about the government side's commitment in resolving the impasse.
The reason why we are rejecting the decision has nothing to do with UTEC NEC. Rather, it has to do with the way the government side has been treating our agreements of understanding over the period. Now the members cannot trust the government side to live up to the expectation. We understand that there is the promise that once we call off the strike, they are going to engage the negotiation team to negotiate and come out with something substantial for the members of UTEC. But the members are very skeptical about that happening. That is why, as far as the members are concerned, we will rather remain on strike until what they are promising has come to pass. So this is what is happening right now. The National Executive are suspending the strike for a period that is up to the 4th of March. And all the members are supposed to take their vote within 5 days, which would be coming to an end very close to the 4th of March. So we are saying that we can go on and start voting as member chapters while the negotiation team engage with government. So the strike has been suspended effectively. The fact that we took that vote did not nullify the suspension of the strike. But after the 5 days, when all the campuses have taken their vote and then sent their resolutions to the national executives, what will happen is NEC would have to sit down and take a decision on the resolutions. So we are hoping that if within the 1 week, NEC has been able to engage with government during this suspension and then arrive at an agreement, a solution for the problem, then our vote would have come to nothing. But if by the end of the 1 week, they have not resolved the problem, then NEC would have to take a decision to resume the strike. That is the process.
Let's just stay on this very development. Lawyer for the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTEC, Kelly Dilata, spoke to journalists about the timelines of the temporary suspension of the lecturers' strike. This was after the ruling of the Labour Division of the Accra High Court.
So I've always held the view that the application for enforcement before the court offers many learning opportunities in the law. It implicates several questions of law, particularly the procedures that the National Labour Commission employs to settle cases. And so we thought that if the judge could make a judicial determination of those interesting legal points of law, it will enrich our labour jurisprudence, which is why we're still in court. Yes. NEC has decided formally to suspend the strike, but that has to be endorsed by the general membership of UTEC, and that process is kick-starting immediately. Within 5 or 6 days, we shall have the outcome of that consultative process, and then officially communication will go out to the student population that the strike has been suspended.
Away from UTEC-related issues, the Director of Administration for the National Identification Authority says government must extend the SIM card registration exercise to the end of the year, as it makes no sense deactivating SIMs of persons who are unable to register. Cecilia Ezwa, interacting with the minority members on the Communication Committee at the NIA headquarters, who were on a fact-finding mission ahead of the NIA boss's appearance before Parliament today, says any attempt to take people off will be unjust.
Well, I said the SIM card registration, they should look at the time frame and extend it. A lot of people haven't received their cards. Yes. There are people who did double, triple, fourth registration, and the system has arrested their card. All these cards have to be released for them to, and we need to work on them at the back end. Otherwise, all these people will lose their SIM. There are Ghanaians who used to be foreigners and have now entered the database as Ghanaians. When they go, MTN refuses to accept their PIN because of the preface. If you are an Australian, it will start with AU. If you are Togolese, it starts with TD and that kind of. All these people have not been able to register their card.
For how many months?
I think they should extend to the end of the year. They should extend to the end. What is the rush for? We should extend to the end of the year so that people can register their cards properly.
Thank you very much.
They are putting unnecessary pressure on Ghanaians.
Well, today marks day 3 of operations of the newly opened centers by the NIA. We'll be visiting these centers and bring you situational reports and update you in our subsequent bulletins. And our aggrieved customers of gold dealership Men's Gold are pushing for the cessation of criminal prosecution of embattled CEO Nana Apia Mensah, popularly known as Number One. The customers want the state to focus on liquidating his assets to pay the locked-up funds 4 years since the company was directed to shut down.
The Coalition of Aggrieved Men's Gold Customers says the condition of their members continues to deteriorate each passing day their funds remain locked up.
Finance Minister met the military officers at Bema camp to promise them there will be a committee to handle the issue. People who are fallen victim, including the military officers and their senior officers, will be settled their monies. Till now, we haven't heard anything from Finance Minister, and today we are counting now over 185 customers dead. As for those bedridden, a lot.
Chairman of a group says they are disappointed the state has not shown commitment in prosecuting the businessman.
Iyoko has even called for the auctioning of the gentleman's assets. We've written to Iyoko to have a roundtable meeting with Iyoko as victims of Men's Gold to even sit down and know the details of the assets that they want to auction. Till now, Iyoko has been having responded to our letter. We've written to Attorney General to call for a tripartite committee to be set up, including the stakeholders, we the victims, and possibly parliamentary committee to be set on this Men's Gold issue. None of these state organizations have taken our matter serious.
Over the period, the aggrieved customers have petitioned Parliament and many other stakeholders to intervene in the impasse to bring a resolution to the issues. That has clearly not happened. Now they are calling on Parliament again calling for a meeting with the Finance Minister to attempt another time to deal with the issues. But what if these calls again do not yield results?
Latter part of last year, October, it came up with a list to pay customers. Till now, that is another fiasco. None of the customers have received his payment. Past 3 years, the state-owned attorney goes to court and asks for adjournment without any substantive case against NAM1. Why should we be suffering whilst the states or the government pretend to be persecuting NAM1 when absolutely is not doing anything about it?
Well, if you're just tuning in, you're watching the morning news here on NewDay with me, Josh Quinn. We're live on DSTV channel 279. Let's know what you make of stories that have been aired so far. The men's gold issue, SIM card re-registration, among others. Go into our social media platforms, TV3 Ghana, drop your comments and reservations, and we'll surely read them and share them to the rest of the world. And now the minority leader has questioned the rationale behind the first Deputy Speaker's decision to dismiss a motion seeking to investigate COVID expenditure. The first Deputy Speaker, Jose Owusu, in his ruling said the Auditor General should rather investigate the COVID expenditure rather than a bipartisan parliamentary committee suggested by the minority. Reacting to the Speaker's ruling, Haruna Idrisu says the precedent is bad for governance.
This afternoon, what the Nana Addo Dankwa government have done through its leadership in Parliament is to throw our quest and desire as a people for an open, transparent and accountable government to the dogs and to the winds. And the precedent that is being set, I worry for the future of our parliament. And I worry for the future of any parliamentary committee tomorrow that will be seeking under Article 1033 of the 1992 Constitution to inquire into any matter of public interest. Our motion was a very simple one, admitted by the Speaker and dismissed by the Deputy Speaker. Interesting times in Ghana. So you see sometimes what invite chaos into the chamber. A motion admitted, advertised over a month by the Speaker. A Deputy Speaker presiding to serve nothing but a narrow partisan interest, even after the motion is moved and seconded, dismisses the motion that it ought not to have been admitted. I hope that he is not impugning the authority and integrity of the Speaker, neither is he undermining the mandate and authority of the Speaker as a subordinate. I will comment on that matter at a future date.
So we simply think that our colleagues are being overly partisan. It's part of their preparation towards 2024 and decreting a certain scorpion on a shivling, and that we will not entertain. Democracy respects rule of law and due process. That is the only way democratic principles can be sustained. We can't do it haphazardly. We can't do it as and when it pleases us and as and when it suits us. So to us, everything about public expenditure is a matter of public record. This House approved certain facilities. This House mandated government to spend certain monies. There is no way in this day and age with the gift system, government can spend and hide. It's not possible. I repeat, there is no way government of Ghana can take public funds, spend and hide those expenditures. It's not possible. Circumstance. It is a constitutional bona fide of the Auditor General. When the Auditor General is done with his work, he would bring a report to us. That is why the Public Account Committee is there. When the Public Account Committee does its work, in fact, the Public Account Committee has a mandate after perusing the report, to set up further committee to investigate and to look into other matters flowing from the issues that they've identified. So I think that we should move one step at a time. It's not a matter of blocking them. We rather think that they want to usurp the powers of the Auditor General. We think that they want to, as it were, bamboozle their way and then create a certain impression that, oh, there is some questionable expenditure, which we think is unfair.
And our General Secretary of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, Godfred O. Adongma, has warned transport fares may go up further despite the 15% increment because of the incessant increase in fuel prices. Mr. Adongma spoke with TV3 News, further threatened to expel 4 other transport unions who earlier came out with their own revised fares without the consent of the coalition. He spoke to TV3 News.
We had mentioned that 50% is what we are all going to effect as our fare increment. And then we drew the attention that within the next 1 week or 2, possibly fuel prices can go up. So we said, fine, within the first schedule, we'll adjust by 50%. Then we'll all monitor the situation and see between the next 1 month or 2, if the fuel prices still goes up to about 10%, by which time it would have been around 8.8 peso per liter, then we would come back for another fare increment. Okay. Which means that the 20% we were asking for, leaving the initial 30% as captured on the document, now we are now asking for 20% maximum rate for us to see whether that could cushion our members. So if we still want to make sure we get the next 5%, then we'll waive off and monitor the situation till the next 1 month or 2. When the fuel prices still goes up, then we can come back. All the 16 transport unions are not under the TUC, and not all of them do appear at the negotiation table with the minister. From the minister's office there, it is only the GRTC. So the GRTCC and then the GPRTU that go for the fair negotiations.
We were at the transport terminal to seek the reaction of commuters.
Coming to be more difficult for the coming years. The only thing left for the government is to reduce the taxes on the petrol. That is the only thing they can do. Apart from that, I don't see what we can do.
It is going to compound our problems. Because of this, I use the bike or I walk.
Baby anekole obi ashkano ke ha me besa kosa o increase.
We will now be forced to increase the daily allowance we give to our children.
When the charges are high, it makes you spend more. Yeah, and also to save less. I suggest that the increment of the transport fare should be reduced.
The lorry fare is definitely, let's just say, it's high. 350 pesos in and out 7 cedi. A month is how much? It can even take 70% of the salary. So for the fare, the transport fare there, the TNT there, they should do something about it.
As a matter of fact, I have to sell out my car because I can't afford to buy fuel at 7.9 per liter. I can't afford. You ask me how much is my wage, my salary wage. It's not to write home about. So if I should buy a fuel of 7.9, that means then I have to go back to my hometown, Mankesim. because life in Accra is very difficult.
It is good and I support the increment. The problem is anytime they increase it, passengers fight us. I support the new charges because we can't buy the fuel. It's too high.
Well, the 15% increment on transport fares takes effect on Saturday, February 26. We'll be following up on this very development and update you subsequently in our bulletins. And now to the executive. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has attributed the consistent increase in fuel prices to the transition in energy usage to renewables by the global community. Dr. Bawumia was speaking at a National Energy Transition Forum organized by the Ministry of Energy in Accra.
In many of the developing countries are facing these very high costs of petroleum prices. And that is resulting in many economic impacts such as inflation in many countries as prices of goods increase in response to the increase in petroleum prices. So we have to be very aware of where this is going. There are many who have said that the petroleum price increase is going to remain at such high levels that we are not going to see any major declines. Then how do we as developing countries like Ghana adjust to this new reality if it becomes a new normal of high oil prices and high petroleum prices and its impact on the macro variables in our respective economies?
The price of Brent crude oil on the world market has reached $99.38 a barrel, the highest since 2014. Executive Director with the Institute of Energy Security, Nana Amwesi VII, says this will impact negatively on local prices of fuel. According to him, prices will increase by more than 40 pesos per litre in March.
Oil and gas prices are climbing up on the international market, and this has been attributed to the Ukraine-Russia crisis, disrupting supplies across the world. The UK and several Western allies have threatened sanctions against Russia, which is the second largest oil exporter after Saudi Arabia. Now, this simply means that an increase in price of fuel at the pumps, according to the experts.
For every liter of fuel that we consume, we import, we are likely to see price of fuel go up in the next window by more than 40 pesos per liter. And this corresponds to more than close to 2 cedis per gallon. And so this is the impact that is going to have on us. And one key contributor is also the cedi's depreciation.
With a current price of $99.38 a barrel, experts suggest the only cushion for Ghana's economy is for prices to be hedged.
You either hedge by locking in the price now when you foresee price going up in the going forward, or you secure yourself by storing. And that's the essence of the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company Limited, BOST. Unfortunately, we have lost on this. We cannot, because we don't have any strategic fuel stock.
Storage is also said to be another option for the country, especially when prices are low. That is when government can get that. And until the city is strengthened and some taxes are plugged off a litre of fuel, prices will continue to shoot up at the local pumps.
And that was my colleague Nekia Mesa-Brampa coming through with that extensive report there. And on to the foreign front, President Joe Biden has signed an executive order on sanctions targeting Ukraine's rebel regions. Putin ratified friendship treaties with two Moscow-backed Ukrainian breakaway republics on Tuesday, recognizing them as independent. And Joe Biden announced sanctions to prohibit trade investment with Ukraine breakaway regions. Russia President Vladimir Putin says the Minsk peace agreement with Ukraine no longer exists. He says the demilitarization of Ukraine is the only solution. Russia has said the step allows it to build military bases there, deploy troops, agree a joint defense posture, and tighten economic integration. It's not clear if any Russian troops have yet been sent into two breakaway regions that are run by Moscow-backed separatists. The US and UK say Russia's order to deploy troops to eastern Ukraine amounts to the beginning of an invasion. Russia says the troops will perform peacekeeping functions, which the US has said is nonsense. Western countries are imposing sanctions on Russia following the escalation in the crisis. Germany has put a hold on major gas pipeline projects from Russia, Nord Stream 2. Well, on that foreign note, we end the morning news. You can get more news updates when you log on to our website. It's 3news.com. This morning, we are bringing you the show live from the campus of the University of Ghana. As you're aware, UTEC has suspended a strike, and it's the reason we are bringing you the show live from that very institution. And we're having an exclusive interview with the Secretary of the UTEC branch of the University of Ghana, Professor Ransford Jambo. On the entertainment side, we'll be engaging the sugarcane man, Commuters. You want to stick with us from now till 10 a.m. for that exclusives and entertainment you'd want to have. My name is Josh Quinn. Thanks for watching. Always a pleasure coming your way. Have a good morning.